Oh well, there's no beginning to this video because my stream deck decided it didn't want to let me push a button to make it work. So, oh freaking well, I guess. So yeah, instead of there being a starting, I'm just already here. I could still play the music if I wanted to, but since my little, I don't know what's been going wrong with my stream deck lately. It is just losing its mind and bugging out and doing some weird things. And it has my music on it, so maybe I wouldn't have been able to. Who knows? But aside from that, I want to make sure you guys can hear me well. I have a new mic. I'm hoping that it sounds okay and it's doing okay. I also have a new camera that I'm hoping does better than the other one. Obviously, I'm not made of money, so I didn't like spend oodles of stuff. I just wanted to be able to get things so you guys would be able to view things instead of it like being broken and not messing up kind of thing. So it's not that I'm saying because they're new, they're like the best quality out there. It's just we need things that work, correct? We need practical things. While I do wish I could have the best quality, that would be lovely. Anyways, enough of my rant. Let's talk the Astros and what is going to be going on this week. So what I have here is Monday's chart. I'm gonna be going over Monday. I'm gonna be going over Tuesday because we have a change where the sun's gonna be going into Aries. I'm gonna be talking about Thursday and then also talking about Friday, because Friday we're actually having Mars moving into Pisces. So it's like just some days throughout the week to kind of like know what the energy is, but also like some days where things are actually like ingressing into new energies is going to be like pivotal too. So focusing on those things. But yeah, I'm going to do all of those. And then I am going to do a reading, a pick a card. So I'm still deciding on what topic to do. I kind of like it being open to where you guys can choose, you know, what the topic is, you know, what's most interesting to you guys, so that I can do that too. And you guys can have that. But yeah, so let's get started. The first thing we're going over is Monday's chart. Now, we are getting closer and closer to the eclipse. The eclipse is not happening next week, but the following week. So we're probably already starting to feel pretty antsy. We are probably like feeling a lot of tension building up, and not really quite sure, especially if like you don't really know what's going on in the Astros. Like one way I like to look at it is like, you know, there's the weather we deal with on Earth that are like weather people are always telling us like percentages about things could be wrong, things could be crazy and stuff like that. But the way I like to look at astrology is more of like the weather that's happening like outside of us, but it still affects us because we're a part of like the big weather. So it's almost like why we can see these huge moves and shifts, but it's like a percentage, because it's like there's still a percent, like how there can be a percent of rain. There's still this percent that things can go really wonky and go the other way because there's such a huge spectrum to things. So it's kind of good to look at, but I wouldn't say like there's a healthy balance that I feel that a lot of people in the astro community don't talk about, where it's like some people become a little too, it's like they put too much of every action that they do based off of astrology, when your chart is, especially, it's okay, your natal chart is supposed to be like a default energy you just kind of carry around with you, that you can either like screw up really bad or you can like max its potential. It's your choice. It's there. Transits going around us, when it hits those points in our charts, it's going to make us light up and like be interested in that like area of our chart. So it's like if you have stuff there natally, it's like giving you the chance, whether it's through tension or whether it's through like opportunities, to actually grow into the better form of your default. If you fight it, then obviously you don't. You either stay default or get worse. You see examples of that everywhere. Now, the reason I'm saying all of this is because that's the kind of energy we're in right now, where a lot of things we could be doing for ourselves, because we have Chiron in Aries, and it's going to be playing a huge factor next week because it's conjunct the eclipse. And so is the North Node. Mercury will be too. It's actually going to be conjunct both eclipses. They're just doing the most right now. So there's like this huge, massive like pull to like this wound where we all personally feel victimized because it's Aries. It's us personally. Like I am hurt because Aries is I am. So it's like this collective feeling that we all personally are wounded and no one understands us. And it can become very blamey. It can become where if people are not making mature decisions, or at least trying to have a more mature point of view when it comes to like their emotions and how they deal with their emotions and their struggles, or at least being accountable, we're going to be seeing a whole lot of fighting, because that's the more how can I put this? It's like the instinctual side of Aries is fighting because they're the warrior. So instead of working, like when someone is really wounded in this energy and they haven't been working on the things that are happening around them or to them, inside them, all the things, if you've been just shoving it down and not really doing anything with it, it's going to come to a boiling point where some people are just going to be very nasty. Now, if this is you yourself, don't just be like, well, if I'm screwed, I'm screwed. Please do something. Like, this Aries energy can be used for so much good, but the reason I'm pointing out this downside of it is I feel like there's like a lot of astrologers right now that are trying to make people feel better, because this energy is kind of sucky. I'm not going to lie. Like, they're trying to make people feel better about the things that they can do, but they're not being honest about the more brutal things that you can be dealing with right now. Because even like, you have to like be honest with yourself. Even if you are doing the work, that doesn't mean the next person is. And it can really make you angry and bring up a lot of wounds that you thought you worked on when you're just dealing with someone that refuses to do all the hard work you did and is just throwing things in your face over and over again. And it's like they don't see your side on top of refusing to do work to get to where they could see your side. So it's just like this lose-lose. Now, what I do want to say is that even though we are in this energy right now, collectively, like it might seem like very personal energy, but it's collectively, we're feeling this personally. Everyone's, if you're not looking at things more objectively, which is what Pluto is doing. Pluto is trying to help us bring control to our lives by learning objectivity while it's in Aquarius, because that's like, that is the strength of Aquarius, is literally their objectivity, for better or worse, because they can also be so objective that it actually pulls them out of themselves and it doesn't allow them to actually experience their experiences, because they become the person that's always observing them instead of like actively living them. So it can be a dual-edged sword, just like everyone else here with their spectrum of things. So what Pluto's trying to come in and do with all of this me energy, because we're getting more and more of it because the sun's going to be moving into Aries too. It's like we're getting, and plus the eclipse is going to be like Aries Libra axis. So having all of this, it's trying to show us, yes, we're feeling very, very me right now. And even if you're usually a very giving person, you might be feeling more like about yourself than usual and not really sure where it's coming from. This is where it's coming from. And we're going to be in this for a while. Like, if you think that you're getting away from this, like, this is actually going to be sitting in Aries for a few years, like both. We're just going to be dealing with it. So if you're actively like becoming a bigger baby by the day, it's not going to get better unless you turn around and start doing something about it. Because that's the thing about Aries energy also, and also taking your power back with this Pluto energy and being objective. You have to see where you can do something. You have to see where you can actually have the control over the things that you can actually change. Because like, there's certain things you can do personally that can better your life day to day, but you're just making the excuse not to do it because it's inconvenient. Like, that's a you thing. Like, if you're just stuck in a very like screwed up predicament at the moment, it's like, that's where you need to know where you just need to let go of certain things. That's the Pisces energy that we've been in, where it's like we're making boundaries where we're too codependent, and we're also like learning where we've had these rose-colored glasses on, or we've been delusional over certain things, especially when it comes to parts of our ego that like protect us from being hurt and just like want to feel safe. Those things kind of coming out and lashing out and like wanting to feel this like loving balm, because you know we have Venus and Pisces right now. So that's exalted energy. It's like this like overflowing like unconditional like loving energy. And it's like people want to feel that right now, and if you're not feeling it right now, you could be feeling kind of scorned about it. You could be feeling like it's a personal attack if someone's bringing it up around you because you're not experiencing that. And the hard truth of that is that's a you problem. It's literally a you problem, and there's like no way around that. If you are getting angry at other people's happiness, there is something core in you, not with them. Even if even if you want to sit there and be like their happiness is fake, whatever it is, if happiness, regardless of how you see it, triggers you, you need to like pull back and see like, why are you so against happiness? Like, do you feel like it's something that you can't attain? Do you feel like it's something that it's like the life you were born into just made it to where you're just not able to reach in your lifetime? It's like there's some kind of limiting belief you have on yourself around the level of happiness that you're ever going to achieve if you're angry at seeing someone else's level of happiness, no matter where it comes from, whether it's real, fake, or whatever. It's like, if someone else's life is doing something and it has nothing to do with you, it's not harming you in any way, and they're just, you know, even if they are faking things, it should be no bother to you, because that's their life. They can live things however they feel they need to get through their life. But if you have this like this feeling of like just wanting to talk all this toxicity about it, then that means that's how you feel about your own happiness. And that's some deep work. That's literally the kind of work you need to be doing right now in this energy. If someone's good emotion, no matter what that emotion is, whether it's like being proud of something they've accomplished, whatever it is, finally getting help, like, I swear therapy is being thrown around so harshly right now. And it's like some people are really using it to be mean to other people, and it's just kind of nasty. But and it's because people are upset that other people are finally like getting ahead in their lives. They're finally like making changes that are good for them, that are healthy for them. They're finally taking care of themselves. Because what comes with someone taking care of themselves that never used to take care of themselves? Boundaries. That's what happens. And that's what Saturn in Pisces is. It's like there's this feeling of like, yes, I want all this love in my life, but not at the expense of my health. And some people are learning where certain relationships, especially with this eclipse coming up, guys, since it's on the Aries Libra axis, it deals directly with relationships. Your relationship to yourself with Aries and your relationship to others with Libra. It is the relationship axis. So whether the relationship with yourself sucks and that's going to be getting a huge reboot, whether it's like through yourself or outside things happening to you, depending on your chart, or if there's going to be certain relationships that you're letting go of or putting up bigger boundaries with, and whatever it is, because you need your space and they're not, how can I put this? It's almost like there's a huge energy of like respect with this. If someone feels disrespected with this like Aries energy, boundaries will go up. Now, I'm not saying all of them are going to be healthy boundaries, because I feel some people are going to blow some things out of proportion and it's going to be kind of nasty. I mean, especially like, you know, Monday's chart right here. This in the evening and like Mercury sitting right on the North Node, like exact degree. Like they're just sitting on top of each other in the evening. This is like, this can be two things. Always the spectrum. Figure out where you are on it. And if you want to get to the other side of it, do the work to get there, is what I'm saying. So one spectrum is you're talking about your goals. You're talking about these things you're excited to do, these things that probably could change your life forever. And you're having these like conversations about what you're passionate about. You're maybe even making new plans, or you're taking new action towards something, though I wouldn't recommend that too much, starting completely new things right now, because though this energy can feel this way, things are about to get mucky really quick. We're about to be going into where Mercury is going to be retrograde next week. We're going to be going into, like I said, not next week, but the following week, the eclipses. It's like this energy is like a lightning bolt. So if you want to work with a lightning bolt, work with a lightning bolt. Some people work great with lightning bolts. Other people work better with like steady energy and like knowing what they can count on and things like that. Some people love the electric freaking zapping of everything changing in their life at once. To each their own. But that's what you're working with this. But it's completely fine to talk about these things. It's completely fine to like take these actions where you're changing things in your life and with yourself and your like own self-talk to be more aligned with these things. So when everything moves more forward come like May, and when, you know, Mercury is not retrograde anymore, it'll be like this breath of fresh air where you can move through things and finally start like making progress. Because the thing is, if you start something now and Mercury goes retrograde, there's going to be all these things that either you're going back and looking at that's wrong with it, that you're like not really sure about, you know, doubting yourself, all these different, like all kinds of stuff is going to come up. So the best thing to do is kind of like vision board your stuff right now and maybe see where, especially with Chiron here, maybe see where you might have like any wounding or like any kind of limiting beliefs around like what you deserve and like what you feel comfortable going after. Now, we also have Aquarius is still in, not Aquarius, Mars is still in Aquarius. That'll be changing later this week. But Mars in Aquarius is squaring Uranus. Now, I talked a lot about, I talked a lot about like Mars squaring Uranus last week and how it can make a lot of unpredictable things happen. Because this energy, like Mars is our like movement, it's our way that we like act on things, our motivation, the things that we get like passionate and fiery about. It's also our anger and things like that. So our energy levels. So when that's squaring and causing like these challenges and tension going to Uranus, which is all this like unpredictability, it just, you know, messes things up to mess things up for the heck of it. This is Monday's energy on this graph. So what can happen here, especially with Taurus and Aquarius energy, there can be something, you know, Taurus is money. There could be something that you're not being as objective about as you think you are when it comes to money. You might be thinking it's a good expense, but maybe it's not. Because this energy, you have to realize, it can give this surge of vitality just as much as it can give a surge of aggression. So like this surge of I want what I want and I want it at this moment, like that impatience, and having like that unpredictability of Uranus thrown in there can mean you might make some brash decisions and just decide like you know better. Have a good night. But what this can end up doing also, if you're not careful, is it can because Aquarius has a lot to do with groups of people. This could also be like, say you have friend groups, depending, it can, like, you have to look at your chart for this stuff, but it can bring out this energy of like putting your money and resources into groups of people that aren't really good for you and that cause a lot of challenges in different areas of your life. The areas of your life where this is going to come up is going to be where these energies are, like where we have Taurus and Aquarius. You might see yourself putting money into these areas and like taking it from one area. Like say it's in your 7th and your 11th kind of energy, right? What can happen is you're taking money either from the time you would spend with your friends to put it into like your relationship or like your business like relationships, your romantic, whatever. But it's like you're either taking it from that area or you're taking it from your relationship, like things you would do to like build your relationship. And this doesn't have to be money. This is like your resources. This is things like your time. This is like you giving like your self-worth to certain things, because you could give your self-worth to certain groups of people and it be very unhealthy for you, and it could put you in very unpredictable situations where it's like, I wouldn't normally be doing this, but I'm really swayed by this group of people. That you could see that kind of energy right now, especially if you see like resources being withheld, because it can be that kind of thing too, where it's almost like a group is withholding resources and people are feeling left out and angry about it. So there could be some of that floating around right now too. But what we all have to realize with this, to work with this, is using like the key points and using it to change the challenge into something that works for us. If we know that we're feeling really strapped when it comes to resources and like our time, if we're feeling devalued in certain relationships, this would be a good time, even though it would be tough, that tension, that square, it would be tough to assert the boundaries. You know, this Saturn thing we're trying to learn, where we have these codependent relationships, where we assert our boundaries and say where we're hurt by what is being done, so that like we're taking action towards the problem, but we're trying to communicate. Now, if you don't feel you are the kind of person that would be able to communicate about this right now, instead say that you need space so that you can work through these heavier feelings. Because the one thing you don't want to do, especially since the moon is going to be in Cancer throughout Monday, the one thing you really don't want to do is react emotionally and let those words fly out the instant that it happens, like the instant you feel it. That's what you don't want, because with the moon in Cancer, like that's its home. Like the moon's at home in Cancer, it's happy, but at the same time it's squaring off with Mercury in Aries, which means that we could really be feeling our emotions. They really could be exactly what we're feeling, but it's also sextiling Uranus and Jupiter, which, even though that can be seen as a good thing, we can have too much of a good thing. We can have too much of a new emotion that we're not used to, and then instead of being able to like understand it, we end up just blah, like word vomit on people that we care about, because we're feeling like personally attacked by the new emotions that we're feeling, even though it might not have anything to do with them. So that's just something to watch out for. We have a lot helping this moon on Monday. We have a lot helping it. There's a lot of things that are trying to like make it feel good as it's going through there. But it's just watch your mouth is literally the only thing, because it's almost like the squares that we're seeing Monday is more like an emotional reaction you don't expect yourself to have to something, and you're given the chance to decide how you allow that emotion to come out of you towards whatever incited the emotion. Now, if you're alone and feeling this, be nice to yourself. Just, you know, have a self-care day if you're going to be alone on Monday, and just like take care of yourself. Take it easy. But if you are going to have to be around people, if you're planning on an important thing happening on Monday, if like you were planning to have a talk about something that's really important on Monday, if you can feel yourself heating up, or if you know whoever you're talking to is not someone that's really great with their temper, it might be better to reschedule it, honestly. Because this is like the wrong thing is said. But at the same time, if you know that who you're dealing with is typically really good with their anger, and it's more of like, this would be a really good day for walking through and like hashing things out that have like either been bothering you or bothering someone else for a while, and be able to actually make progress where you felt like very blocked for a bit. Because this Aries energy, it's like it's coming to the forefront right now, where more and more things are just moving over there. And like that energy wants us to do new things. It wants us to put our vitality into trying new things, into starting new projects, into starting new relations. It's like that kind of energy wants new things. Taurus wants to ground the new things, which is all this Jupiter and Uranus energy. Now, Uranus isn't too grounding, which is why Taurus isn't happy to have it sitting there. But this energy just creates where our resources don't really necessarily ever feel like they're really secure, which is kind of like the air we're living in right now globally, where it's like, are our resources actually secure? Is everything okay? Like there's kind of like that thing hanging over everyone's head right now. Like even the person that doesn't know a lot about what's going on everywhere, it can still have this tension of like, am I safe? And that can also add into the fear that we can fear with the emotions, with this Aries energy squaring the moon throughout Monday, where we're just feeling this fear of like, what about me? Am I safe? And like all this thing. And this might be you like actually voicing your fears to someone and it being reciprocated, and like, you know, certain things are talked out and new things are made. New structures are created in different relationships for the security, you know, that kind of thing. That's on like a positive way of looking at this, is like being able to work through that. But this isn't the kind of energy where you're gonna work through something with someone who's been toxic to you for a very long time, and you know they're toxic. They're not gonna mystically not be toxic. That's one thing I want to say. Like when I talk about people like working through things, these are not people that have actively for like a long period of your life just been horrible to you. Those people are not just going to mystically become better people with transits. That takes work. And if you haven't been seeing them like doing the work and actively like trying to get better, and like all the ways that, you know, you've been trying to win more when they're the abusive people, then that means that they're not going to change just because a planet goes into another sign. It's not going to happen. That's wishful thinking. That's one of the ways I feel that people need to definitely not try to use astrology, is hoping that like something that's bad is mystically just going to be better. With astrology, more than likely, if you are in something bad and certain transits happen, what's going to happen is they're going to keep showing you just how bad the situation is, and keep trying to show you ways to get out of the situation until you take it. Yeah. And see, that's one thing that you have to watch out for. Like, toxic knows they're being toxic most of the time. So they're not going to change unless there's an incentive to change. And that incentive usually isn't for the betterment of your life. So that's just something to keep in mind here. And like anyone can be toxic. Like you can be born to a toxic parent. You can get into a toxic friendships. Multiple toxic friend groups are like a huge thing. Toxic like romantic partners. it's like there's just this long list of like, it doesn't just take like a boyfriend and girlfriend for something to be toxic. And I feel like a lot of people need to start realizing that, because it's like there's all this like pitting against each other, when in reality what we need to be looking at is like, how do you deal with toxic people, not how do you how do you deal with a subclass of people that have like one person that's part of the abusive community. It's like, that's not how it works. It's like, that's just how you like create is. I feel like that's a big issue too, is like everyone is so separate right now that no one's tackling issues. Everyone's just making more and more and more and more issues. And that's the thing with this Aries energy, is because it's so like me, with like, you know, my wounds, what I want to do. It's like, that's a very like disjointed energy to be dealing with. Like the fact that, you know, you're hurting, you're in pain, all your wounds are like, you're having to deal with them, they're in your face. And but at the same time, all your goals, all the things you want to go after, like being scared of your future, is in your face. So it's like the past and the future are just like being shoved in your face. And on top of that, your mind is going a million miles a minute because it's in Aries. And Aries is like super fast, all these new ideas. And you're not really reaching any conclusions, which can be the really annoying part with Mercury and Aries, because it's a bunch of starting energy. So it's almost like it starts a bunch of ideas, and you need to have other things to tether the ideas down, or you're just going to keep floating with more and more and more and more ideas. And it can become very frustrating. It can, like, that's another thing feeding into the moon. It can cause a lot of like emotional overload if all you're getting is a bunch of new, and like nothing feels like it's stabilizing. That's what we need to use the Taurus energy for. It's what it's there for. Like Aquarius can help us a little bit because it's fixed energy, but the most it's really going to help us do is be a little more objective in our stance instead of just throwing all of our emotions into everything. It's like being a little more aware of what's going on and like how we can observe it, instead of like full on throwing ourselves into it the instant it happens, because that's how we're going to have problems. So this is for Monday. We're going to go into, this is Tuesday. The sun is entering Aries. Now, as you can see, there's going to be a little bit of changes happening even from Monday to Tuesday with Mercury, because Mercury likes doing things. But instead of being on the other side of the North Node, which we saw on Monday, now it's sandwiched in between the North Node and Chiron. Now, let's just understand how this might change things. When it was on the other side of the North Node, we were more going to be talking about what we want to do, things we want to accomplish. Now that it's sandwiched in the middle, this is going to take on the flavor of the things I want to do and I want to accomplish. I feel like I'm not worthy of them. It's going to get that really heavy sour note. Like, because I said it was there on Monday, that sour note's there, and it's like getting more sour as Mercury's getting closer to Chiron. It's like, instead of it being like, oh, this new outlook, it's going, oh, my old wounds. It's like, it's going into more that energy as we move into Tuesday. And on top of that, the sun's going to be entering Aries, which we can see down here. Now, with the sun being out of Pisces, we're not going to feel like as emotionally driven to react to ego, because Pisces is like our emotionality. With Aries, it's going to be more of these triggers we've been dealing with when it comes to like our personal selves. It's not going to be like the boundaries and the love and the stuff we've been dealing with in Pisces and feeling emotional with that stuff. Oh, sorry, I think I knocked my mic. This thing's new. I'm not used to it. But the sun moving out of Pisces is like we're leaving that emotional body behind that we're using to protect ourselves and express ourselves and all this other stuff. We're moving away from that dreamy kind of like boundaryless energy into this me of Aries that we've been dealing with like our, because we've already been talking this way. like our communication's over here. Like we've been thinking this way, we've been talking this way, like, and if we haven't been saying things yet, it's been going around in our mind so much that it's getting to the point that we feel like we really want to say something. And having the sun move here is like it's illuminating this. It's like it's getting closer to illuminating the problem. So it's almost like if you haven't quite figured out what's going on, what could happen is the sun moving into Aries on Tuesday could spark either a situation, because this is late. This is like late at night, right? So some of you might be asleep depending on your time. Others might happen a little like early morning for you, things like that. But what this is really doing is it's like going to be bringing you into Wednesday. There might be like a new situation, unless you're a late, like a night owl and things tend to happen like opposite for you. But then there might be some things happening late if you're more of like the late hours person for like your work or like, you know, your groups that you like communicate with and stuff. But if you're not, it's going to be like waking up Wednesday, the people you're associating with, it's going to be the topics that come up, what goes on at work, the people that like reach out to you, the things like that. All of these things are going to be getting pushed on by this energy where these situations are coming up to show us more and more, since the sun's in Aries, it's trying to illuminate where we aren't working on what we should be. And this is getting closer and closer to the eclipse, because the eclipse is in when the moon gets into Libra. So the sun will be in Aries. This means that we're already kind of feeling the tension that the eclipse is building Tuesday, because it's there. Like the sun's in Aries, like we're feeling this tension. There could be things coming up that are going to come to a head the following week when the eclipse happens, because it's building to get you there. It's trying to get you to a place where you're seeing where you're using your wounds as a way to get out of doing the very things that you're passionate about. And it's going to put it so up in your face that it might make you angry. It is really important to remember that these things are being shown to you so that you can't pretty much like keep hitting the escape button. Like you're just trying to get away from it. It's like Pisces energy was really like doing for a lot of people the thing of, I'm getting away from this. I don't want to deal with this. I need like just to do anything else but this. Like there was a lot of like pulling away with Pisces energy. And as more planets keep going and like moving out of this Pisces energy, there's going to be less and less and less of the veil that's like over everyone's eyes. And which we'll really see a lot of that like next year when Neptune and Saturn start trying to dip into Aries. Like we're going to see a lot of things that have been kept hidden from everybody with this stuff in Neptune. Because that's what Neptune and the stuff in Pisces, Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. Because that's what Neptune energy does. It hides things, it puts illusions up. That's why it's like, you know, filmmaking and movies, because it's literally all an illusion of like something that's happening. It's all acted out. So it's like the big curtain is going to be pulled away for at least a little bit next year when there's like those slight ingresses. But right now what we're getting is like this taste of it on a personal level, because these are all very like personal energies, like the Mercury and Sun and like our North Node, like our personal like North Star, and like our personal wound in Chiron. Like it's very personal energy. It's not going to be till we start getting those generational planets like trying to dip their toes in that we're going to really see this massive shift when it comes to like our collective energy, because there's just going to be so much more happening. But that's why it's important to use this right now and not wait till it's a collective energy to actually get the work done. Like use the personal energy to get your personal shit done, you know? Like don't make excuses for it. Don't try to find ways around it. It's like, it's way easy to do it. It's way, way easy to do it, especially with this Pisces energy. It's almost like putting up these boundaries and putting up these structures and putting up these routines and doing these things that are good for yourself have like this extra barrier in front of it that just feel hard, because it's like you're fighting not just through water, but like this deep sea of pressure, because that's what Pisces energy, that 12th house energy represents, is like that deep sea energy where there's just pressure. And it just seems like it's endless. So it's like when you're fighting against that and you feel like you're fighting against things that are very endless, it can almost like drain you of the motivation to do anything, which I feel like a lot of people are going through right now. It's why like the mental health crisis is like starting to peak and go higher and higher and higher, because people are feeling very lost in this right now, because it's an energy you can easily get lost in. Because I know it's like, you know, astrologers talking about, oh, Venus is in Pisces, it's exalted. Yeah, it is, but it's like sitting with Saturn, and eventually it's going to be sitting in between Saturn and Neptune. And it's like those energies, like with Saturn, Venus is feeling squished. It's like it's trying to love people, but Saturn is like, what's wrong with you? It's like, not in my space. You need to chill out. You need to put up boundaries, all this unconditional love crap. You need to get on with that. And as soon as it moves in between, it's going to be like, some people are just going to get ultimately very delusional, because Neptune is just going to be adding to that. There will be a lot of nice things coming out of it. A lot of people that are really stepping forward and trying to do the right thing and help the people that are, you know, less fortunate, because that's also Pisces energy, that charity, that like unconditional, like loving divine energy. But at the same time, as we're seeing that, we're also seeing people suffering. So it's like, there wouldn't be any reason for people to step forward and be helping the needy if there wasn't needy. And that's kind of like the hinge that we're at right now, where it's coming to that point. The people that can't help themselves in this Aries energy, the hope is going to be that there's going to be people that rise out of this Pisces energy that have that kind of devotion, that want to help the people that can't help themselves. And that's going to be kind of what things hinge on with this. Like there's definitely like possibility for it, because we have the Jupiter and Uranus happen over here. Uranus like changing structures that don't work, just ripping things up, and Jupiter like giving us all this like extra oomph to rebuild and like have it stable when it's rebuilt. It's like it's there, but at the same time, it's like it can be very hard. Now, hopefully you're sleeping. Like I said, like this is some pretty heavy energy, and it's like bringing up what your main course of the eclipse is going to be like the following week. It's starting to, it's tipping its toe into that, and it's starting to show you what you're going to be dealing with. And the eclipse energy is going to be going for like half a year. It like lasts around 6 months. So whatever pops up, just realize it isn't going to be an overnight thing. It's going to be brought up, then it's going to be revisited very harshly with this Mercury retrograde bringing you back, and then going back over it again. And then like it's going to be sitting where this thing is finally maybe going to be quieted down, like 6 months from now, it's going to quiet down and finally reach its completion. Maybe. For some people, no. Some people it'll go until next year, because there isn't going to be another eclipse in Aries to kind of shut it off. It really depends on what's going on in your chart. But aside from that, Pluto is in opposition to the moon late Tuesday evening when all this is happening, and when the sun's going into Aries. This is, once again, like I said, Pluto wants us to be objective. It wants us to take our power back. It wants us to be in more control of our emotions, because it's feeling like, what the heck is all this crap going on in Pisces up there? Like we need to like get more control over what's happening. Now, directly opposing the Leo moon. The Leo moon is like, I just want to be happy. I just want to have fun. Why do I have to deal with all these heavy emotions? And it can also be people that are very immature and don't know how to express their emotions, being very dramatic. Now, some people, it might literally just be like, I don't want to have to think about all this heavy stuff. I'd rather just have fun. And that's kind of like the energy. But for some people, it's literally going to be like having to learn how to have boundaries with people that have very dramatic emotions, and like how to deal with that. And this is like kind of showing you, or situation, doesn't have to be people, it can be situations, like whatever's going on with you. but it's like what's being shown to you is how much of your power you give away in certain situations when you feel the emotion in the situation is too big, like how you react to it. And it's trying to get you to see like what your response is to that, and is it coming from like a loving place or is it coming from a fear-based place, and like really trying to make you work on it. So I mean, something could crop up, but I feel like it's going to be more like moving into Wednesday, where some things might start popping up for people with the sun moving into Aries. But some people might get some late night Tuesday, whatever this is going on with them, where it gets activated. But still, the Uranus square to Mars is still active. All the stuff I said from Monday is still active with that square. It is still there. Like, it doesn't just go away because it's Tuesday. As long as this square is staying, all that stuff I've been saying for the Uranus square is staying there. So the next thing we're moving to, this is Thursday. Now, Thursday when I don't think Wednesday went too well. If it did, Thursday is not keeping it well. Because whatever transpires, we go later into the week, and now we have this full opposition between the moon and Mars. Now, just like the Uranus-Mars square in my chart, I also have a moon-Mars opposition. It's not fun. It creates a lot of, how can I put this? It's really frustrating, especially depending on how it plays out in your chart. If it deals with the mom, it could be like, you know, issues with mom, maternal figures, feminine figures, that just, it's almost like the way they nurture, or the way they feel that they should nurture, is to like make you lose all motivation to do things that are outside of them, which we could be seeing like, you know, a thing of that where it seems like people are being oppressed because the moon is like the general public. There could be like this kind of like very showy way of like oppression in a way, but it's like, it's mean. It's not, because Mars is aggression. It can be fighting. When you're put in these kind of situations, it's almost like you're always fighting over what you're passionate about and what your heart tells you, or what people are telling you to do, what you're good at, and what you actually like connect with, and what makes you feel safe. Or like you're having to do the thing, and doing the thing makes you feel very unsafe, like every time you do the thing. So it's not like you're really getting that positive emotional response when you have to take risks and when you have to do things that require you to step out of your comfort zone. You're always getting this negative feedback that you feel unsafe. I don't like this. So there could be a lot of that really happening here. And since it's like moon and Leo, it could be making the emotions very big, which is making you distrust them more, because this Aquarius energy is like, I don't like big emotions. I'm objective. I'm not getting involved in them. So it could almost be this thing where it feels like what you're being told to do, what you're being pushed to do, everything that you feel you need to do is so opposite of what makes you feel safe, that it's like, you know, it can, like Leo is the child, it can make you like hit some very deep inner child wounds with that. And it's also squaring Uranus and Jupiter, which makes this feeling bigger and more unpredictable, which is why I was saying whatever transpired didn't go well. And it's all feeding into this emotion where it's meeting this like critical mass, is what it's feeling like. And if people are not in a space, like I've been saying, if people aren't in a space where they can have healthy communication and where they can actually talk about these things, and they don't have any coping mechanisms for this heavy of emotions, then you're going to be seeing a lot of people, because this is like T-square, it hurts, you know, you're going to be seeing a lot of people just fly off the handle and be unpredictable. And it's like, you know, if you're seeing this in the general public, it's like you don't want to be seeing people randomly like losing their temper and getting aggressive and hurting other people. But there are a lot of tensions that are happening right now, and I feel one of the things that are really being seen a lot, because one thing to remember with Aquarius energy, and Pluto is in Aquarius right now, is it rules the internet. And what is happening with the internet is a lot of people are talking about how certain governments do things with the internet, how what control, what freedoms we have, what information we're getting, like is it actually like factual information, or are we being filtered things, like all of these things. This is literally Pluto in Aquarius. It's literally like this like sussy, like Pluto trying to suss out like what the heck is happening with all this Aquarius energy, and it's going into like groups of people, organizations, and all these different things, which is Aquarius, that are like trying to have the reins on certain things and using like tactics that aren't very cool about it. And like a lot of people are like, the moon is general public is going to feel oppressed by certain situations, because it's like, well, what freedom do we have? So it's going to feel almost like damaging to our motivation to like try to do things, because it's like, how can we do things if we don't like have the resources, I guess is a way to put it, because you know it's squaring our resources with Taurus, like that unpredictable factor with this Taurus energy, and with Jupiter, just like Jupiter and Saturn are trying so hard throughout all of this to give us the structure to create things that can help us. But the sextile is like the one opportunity that keeps staying there. It's trying to give us the opportunity that we need so bad to do something, to like make a structure that can support us with all this going on. And I'm honestly hoping that there is something like that that's happening, because it is there. But it seems like the thing that's at the forefront that everyone's actually viewing online and can actually see is just how everything's breaking down. And that can be honestly a tactic, because that would be like a very Pluto tactic, the fear mongering, where it's like the only thing you can see is the bad. You're not going to see any of the good. Wonder if something like that will come out as a conspiracy theory somewhere and get proof to it, because that's what Pluto does. Like it'll, especially with Aquarius, is like, give me all of the conspiracy theories. I will find a way, get to the bottom of them, and prove them all. It's why I feel a lot of different sites that have like these people that deep dive into these details and have all these proofs on things, even though they're like niche hobbies or whatever they are, but they have like these like detailed, thought out thing. It is very Pluto. It's very like this obsessive overcorrection of everything. But yeah, this right here. But I feel like the one thing that is helping this moon is gonna be the Aries energy we have, except for the sun. The sun's actually trining Pluto with Neptune. But with the moon, we do have all the other things, the North Node, Chiron, Mercury, trining the moon. So these things that have been making us feel very, very like alone, and like no one understands me, like the me energy that we've been feeling, is finally feeling like it's getting this open flow to being able to be expressed. Now, for better or worse, it's getting an open flow. All these feelings are getting an open flow to be expressed with this moon. It could be good in a way that people are standing up for things that they believe in and actually like being loud, like that Leo getting on the stage and like putting their foot down about things that need to change and need to be done. Yeah, I mean, like that can be a good side of it. A not so good side of it is people having the stage to speak and speaking on a whole lot of things that just put a whole lot of fear in people and just scare people. And it's like, you know, it's corralling people, like that kind of thing. That's where that can really go bad. So just keep a lookout for that. Keep your eyes and ears open. Keep your mind open. Be objective when you're listening to things. and like be objective about where your sources are coming from and things like that as much as you can be, because Pluto in Aquarius is information war. And I said that since like the very, very beginning of Pluto moving into Aquarius, is that this is information war. And Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for about 15 years. This isn't going to be like an overnight thing. This is like the long, like, you know, the, what's it called when, the long game, where they're playing the long game. They're not waiting. They're waiting. They're trying to make it seem like not as much is happening at the beginning, so that way they just win at the end and no one suspects it. Like, that's the long game. Like the tortoise and the hare. That's how Pluto in Aquarius is acting. So all these like brash emotions we're feeling, they are important because, you know, we need to start like getting our shit together. But at the same time, it's like the only way to fight this is to actually be more observant. This Aquarius energy, like, be more sus, like try to like understand where things are coming from and realize that some things, just like a lot of places that deal with this, are not going to be able to hear all the things they hope they can. So don't take everything at face value, I think, is like the best way to look at this energy. Now, when we go to Friday, Mars is going to be entering into Pisces. At the same time, Moon's going to be in Virgo, opposing this Pisces energy. Now, Mars moving into Pisces, for one, it's probably not going to feel good on Friday because it's already opposing the Moon. Mars keeps opposing the Moon, so that opposition we have is just staying there and moving into new signs. So guess what? Those flavors we took from the Moon and Mars being across Leo and Aquarius, now we're moving those problems along and moving them into Virgo and Pisces. Now it's not so much about this being objective and all this like loud, like dramatic emotions and all these fanfares and things like that. This is more like we're getting into the nitty gritty, because Virgo is like, I want the details. This is also being hypercritical. So anything that was like happening, whether it's personal or public, people are getting very hypercritical of it, and starting to poke holes in it. But the thing with Mars being in Pisces, it doesn't like being here. It really doesn't. It's like Mars wants to be able to have the vitality to push and burn through like obstacles and all this stuff. And Pisces is the deep sea. It's pressure. It's not really moving anywhere. It's very still. So Mars energy is like, how am I supposed to do this forward rush when everything's so still? And it just feels like it's stuck there, because like an immovable force and a force that's trying to move, you're just going to sit there. With this opposition here, it's like what can happen and what can feel very frustrating is that we're getting these details, we're trying to learn these things, we're trying to understand things, we're trying to make plans to make change, but we just don't have any motivation, physical energy, any like way of like making the action happen. We just only have this thought, basically. And it's a big thought. I mean, it's trining Jupiter, so it's pretty big. You know, it's a thing about helping too, because Jupiter is very optimistic, it's very abundant, and Virgo is the axis of service. Like Virgo Pisces is the service axis, being of service to others. Now Virgo is more of service in the way that if you have problems, let's figure out solutions to the problem so we can fix it. Pisces is more of service in the I'm just here to give everything I have to you, which is why it's so important for Pisces to have boundaries. But it's like the way they do it is very like the self-sacrificing thing, where Pisces are supposed to learn to not be self-sacrificing, which is where all the codependent energy in Pisces comes from. Which is where all the hyper independence in Virgo comes from, because they're trying to always like help others by solving all their problems and never seeming like they have problems because they're trying to take care. It's like that hyper independence versus the like complete codependence thing. It's that axis when it's like that. So since we have these oppositions, and not only do we have it with Mars, so it's feeling icky, we don't feel like doing things, we're feeling very sluggish. Even if emotionally we feel like we're doing stuff, it just feels like we're drained. And then it's also opposing both Saturn and Venus, which, you know, throughout the week they've been like really close to each other. Venus finally crossed over, like I said, and it went in between Saturn and Neptune. So this is almost like some of the places where we were feeling very stifled by Saturn when it comes to like love. Some of that might open up some. We might be able to have some conversations we weren't able to have. I feel like with the Virgo moon, we will be having some conversations that we didn't realize that we needed to have, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is communication. I know everyone's always thinking of Virgo like the helper, the health, the this, the that, but they're also the talker. They talk to figure out what problems are. They talk to figure out how to fix problems. It's like they're very communication oriented in that way. So if there are issues, this would be a great time, especially since Jupiter is having that sextile to the same planets that the moon's in opposition to. It's almost like there's the same energy of whatever you're using to ground this big idea, because it is possible to ground the idea. It might not feel easy because you're pushing up against the sea to try to do something and it just feels very lethargic, but it is possible. With enough optimism and enough belief in yourself, like, you can definitely do it. And it's also like having this opportunity between the new boundaries you've been making when it comes to your relationships and how it comes to like your own like self-care. Because I feel like Saturn Pisces with Venus also in Pisces is like, learn how to make boundaries around the love that you create, like the structure in your life. Like, how do you structure love into your life? And if you're not structuring that love into your life, then you're not really taking care of yourself. You're not actively like doing things that nurture your body, because it's opposite Virgo, which is like our physical health. If you're not doing things that put these practices into your day, and I'm talking to myself here too, I'm not just saying this to preach to everybody. Everything I say, like, I actively do work on each day. Like, we're all human. It's like you're trying to put this energy to use in a way where you're actually being kinder to yourself throughout your day, but you also have structure, because that's what Saturn wants. It wants you to have structure. Now, it might take some time. It might even take some time to get used to these new routines, but you're not supposed to just give up on them because they're hard, because that's what structure does. That's what structure does. That's what Saturn does, is it delays gratification. And I feel like a lot of people don't know how to keep working for things because we're in this war with like these groups of people that really just want to keep forcing certain things on us to keep our attention 24/7, which is like making our instant gratification be all we know instead of the delayed gratification, which is what this Saturn Venus like crossing is trying to show us, that some things are delayed and delayed things can be very beautiful. Which I feel could be what this Mars in Pisces is trying to show some people, is slow down, take the time to process certain things, because this Aries energy is making us want to go, and there's been a lot that's being bubbled to the surface this week because we're heading straight into an eclipse the following week. So all of this is like, the Mars in Pisces thing is saying you're not going anywhere. You are not going anywhere unless you are emotionally sound and balanced and you have good boundaries. You're gonna stay stuck in this. Now, if you've been working really hard, what can happen with the Mars in Pisces is it can almost, because Pisces energy is limitless, it's endless energy. One way this can go with Mars in Pisces, which can be both a good and a bad thing, is you may not realize your limits, like your physical limits. You may push yourself past your physical limits to do things you're excited about. So just be careful of that. Keep it in mind. This is the kind of energy where it's like, I'm excited. I'm finally like grounding something that can help me like change my life and make better changes for myself and incorporate it. But just take your time with incorporating it slowly instead of like gung-hoing it, and then, you know, Mars is still squaring Uranus. Just, if you just throw everything into it and like don't take time to build the structure, which is where like this opportunity is the structure with Saturn. It's not in your impulsiveness with Mars. That's not where this is. Just throwing yourself into something and like no like care about like your physical or mental health with it is not going to end well. It's just not, it's not that kind of energy for that. Even though it feels like it really feels like it. I got to put everything in, all or nothing. I got to do it right now. And that really builds with eclipse energy. It just feels like a whole, like all or nothing, like the whole time. And that's not what Mars wants right now. It's not what Saturn wants right now. It's not what Venus wants right now. There's like a lot of the cosmos that does not want that right now. It just doesn't. Like even the Taurus, like Jupiter and Uranus and all of them are like, no, we don't want this right now. Like what we want is to build something, because everything's feeling like it's going up in flames. Now, like I said, as the months go forward and more things kind of start shifting, we'll see that change, but it just feels very like mucky and muddled right now because we are dealing so heavily with these other heavier energies. Like things are going to move a lot easier once things, well, I don't want to say easier. It's going to move faster. I think that's the way to put it. It's not going to feel as like draggy. We're going to have more energy, but there's going to be a lot more happening at the same time that we have more energy. Once these planets start moving into Gemini and more planets move into Aries, it's just going to be like this whole different energy of where things felt very slow and like things were slowly falling apart. And what I'm hoping is when things speed up, it's more like a fast rebuild than a very fast crash of everything that's left to fall apart. I kind of hope the things that are going to fall apart in the slow energy. So it's like an ease into it. But, you know, we'll have to see what happens there. But that is pretty much what I'm seeing for next week. The following week is going to be a doozy because that's the eclipse. There's a lot of stuff happening. As you can see, this week is building to it. It's building very strongly in one direction, and you need to like look at your chart to see like what area it's building to, like where you're seeing a lot of that pressure like pinpoint in your chart, because this is all sitting somewhere in our charts and it's like showing this massive shift in our lives that's happening right now. But yeah, that is what we have for the charts. And now what we will do is do the group pick a card reading. I just need to get everything up here. Stop it. There we go. And of course, my kitty will not stop jumping up here no matter what I do. Okay, so my lord. Oh, this kitten, I swear. But anyways, so what I was thinking, because of how all of this is going with it seems very heavy on us being able to work through like our own personal like whatever the heck is really like messing us up right now. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shuffle my my astro oracle thing I have here, but then I'm gonna have like 3 of these to be what you choose from. So that way it's like whatever these 3 come out, it'll be like whatever choice you choose for your group, and I'll like pull out 3 of these. So that way it's almost like you're drawn to whatever's for you, and then I'll shuffle the tarot for that group. And then I'll also tell you what I feel this card means for your group when you go to that group. So let's look for pile 1. Pile 1 is Gemini. If it decides it wants to show, because the sun is so bright outside. I was not expecting the sun to be so bright. Pile 2, we have Pisces. And our last group of people, what do we have? Very interesting that all of them were sign cards that came out when there's so much in this deck. Sagittarius for our last group. So these are our 3 choices. We have Pisces. Oops, sorry for hitting the camera. We have Pisces, Sagittarius, and Gemini. So group 1, Gemini. Group 2, Pisces. And group 3, Sagittarius. And this is going to be for what wounds or what Chiron is trying to get you to focus on healing right now so that you can move forward with the things you want to do in life. So once again, group 1, Gemini, group 2, Pisces, and group 3, Sagittarius. And I'm going to go ahead and start with group 1. Put our Gemini up here. Now, this Gemini card does say curiosity, intellect, and networking. Now, Gemini does stand for like a lot of things, those things included. It also deals with, because it is 3rd house. 3rd house is Gemini's natal house. This deals also with our communication. And it's not just the communication with other people, it's the communication we have with ourselves. So it's kind of is leading me to believe that this group is the group that's having the hard time with not only like the way people are communicating to them, but also the way that they're communicating with themselves and like being able to communicate what they're feeling to other people. It doesn't necessarily mean you are a Gemini, have Gemini placement, so maybe that's why you chose it. But this wound seems to be the wounds that would be a Chiron and Gemini wound, which is like the ability to speak up, the ability to feel like you're intelligent, the ability to feel like people understand you and like want to be around you and they have a good time around you and that you're not boring, because that's like a huge thing too. And there's like this energy of wanting to always know the answers and wanting to know what you don't know and like basing your value on that. And it's like really learning to trust that you know exactly what you need to know, that you are enough as you are to say the things you need to say. You don't need to be a different version of yourself in order to be able to say the things that you need and say the things that are detrimental to your health, and like set boundaries and like all these things. It's like really learning that your voice is important no matter what stage of life you're in, and probably having been through some very harsh situations in life where you felt like your voice really didn't matter. Okay, so we have 2 of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles. Okay, one thing I want to say with the Pentacles just coming out, right? What you produce does not equal your value. I just kind of feel like I need to say that, like seeing these pentacles come out after, you know, this is a thing about wounding. Because the Nine of Pentacles is being self-sufficient, having money, being able to do the things yourself. That's all Nine of Pentacles. Two of Pentacles is like, it's almost like you're having these options, balancing things, balancing daily tasks, like being able to multitask and things like that. But I feel like these are more standards that either have been placed on you or that you place on yourself. And it's like, you need to be doing these things. You need to be the one that's independent. You need to be the one that's able to take care of everything. You need to be the one that's able to multitask. It's like, these are like, oh, this is supposed to be a reading about your wounds you're supposed to be addressing. This is why I'm looking at these cards like this. This is like showing me that this is how you think things are supposed to be, right? Now, if this was like a career reading or something, be different, but this is like talking about a specific wound here. And this is poking me. Yeah. High Priestess. This wound, I feel like this is like your intuition here has been telling you that something feels off. And also you have a wound around your intuition and like trusting yourself. There are things you can do to build your trust with yourself, because I feel like trusting intuition, it's hard to do if you can't trust yourself, because how can you like trust something that's like not, because I feel like you guys are like, even though you pick Gemini as your card, I feel like you're a very like practical group. You're very this feels very earthy in mindset. So even if you are a Gemini, this could be Taurus placements, this could be Capricorn placements, Virgo placements. This just feels very like weighed down. And then having the High Priestess here also being talked about is like this gut instinct you have that you don't always trust, because there's a wound with that too. And then we have Queen of Cups, and it actually came out reversed. So I feel like, oh, and the Hangman. Yep, this is all about perspective change for you guys. And I do want to say something when it comes to, I have a bunch of funny stories about like how perspective can just make you stop learning things that you need that are good for you, or that like are actually like fun, or like whatever it is. Like having a certain perspective where if you hear something you don't agree with and you immediately shut it down and you don't learn anything else about it just because maybe a word was used you don't like, what you're doing is damaging yourself. Because there's a there's the confirmation bias where you just search for things that you like and you never get another point of view. That's actually damaging to you. If you feel that you can't look at another point of view and retain your point of view, that is something that you need to heal within yourself. And I'm sorry if I keep bumping my microphone. But if you feel, because that's a perception you have, if you don't feel strong in your values, like if you were to hear another side of things, I don't feel I could stand my ground, or like whatever it is, that's something personal. That's that Chiron, that's that voice speaking up, that's that wound we've been talking about here, that is coming up no matter what it is, like in your life, whether it's like around what you want to do for a living, whether it's around like a risk you want to take and no one's supporting you, like whatever it is. It could also be like emotionally with this Queen of Cups in reverse here, because Queen of Cups also, along with the High Priestess, is our emotions, it's our instincts. And it's like the High Priestess is more intuition and like knowledge and stuff like that, but the Queen is more like our emotions, but she still has amazing intuition. It's what she leads with, is her emotions and her intuition. It's reversed here, so it's showing me you definitely have a wound around this. It's almost like this, no, don't trust your emotions, you don't trust your intuition, you trust money, but it's like money's not always going to be there for you. Like there's some kind of like value that you need to cultivate within yourself, and I feel like that's what's happening here is the wound you're being shown, which is going to be like all our wounds are going to be very harsh that we see that we're coming up with here because it's very personal and it's going to feel like a personal attack, but it's going to come in hard, it's going to come in swinging, and it's going to tell you, like, it's going to show you in a lot of instances too, because your stuff deals with dealing with people and like their opinions of you and your opinions of yourself. You're going to be put in situations that bring you to this hangman energy that make you step back and observe and go, this is my point of view, and I have reached this, and I'm going to stay here. It's like you don't have to feel like you need to change things because your voice, you never felt it was important. It's like learning that it is important, being able to say things, stand by it, and like chase what makes you feel fulfilled, what makes you feel independent, what makes you feel like you trust yourself, instead of just trusting everything outside of you to give you that validation. You need to start validating yourself, because this wound isn't going to necessarily like get better if you just go, well, if I just, keep doing the grind and keep doing the thing, like it's not going to get better that way, because what isn't wrong is your grind. Even if you don't feel like you have enough money, it's not the grind that's blocking you. It's not the grind that's the wound here. The wound is the fact that you feel like this emotional body, this instinctual body you have is not important and you need to cut it off. And once you can like reach into that, this area will become easier, but it won't be because you're following what everyone else is telling you to do with it or trying to like live up to a status with it. It's like you're just going to be like being yourself. And like I said, this is going to take time. Aries isn't going to be leaving Chiron anytime soon, but you could be seeing a huge something that happens, whether it's with you personally or a situation in your life, with this eclipse coming up that brings this energy to the forefront, like in your face, like I was saying in the astrology, and makes it to where you can't ignore it anymore and you have to take it head on, or it just becomes way worse than what it is right now. But that's what I'm seeing for group 1 when it comes to the Chiron wound, what it's wanting you to work on. Next group is Pisces. For those of you that chose Pisces, because the sun is still bright and like washing out my cards. Okay. So for the Pisces group, it says intimacy, intuition, and compassion. Now, if we're looking at a wound around intimacy, this is gonna lead me to believe that some of you have either 8th house Scorpio, or either aspects that square things like that. So it like creates tension with it. It makes it harder. But also like intuition, compassion, all of this is very like watery energy, very emotional, very like following your own personal North Star. And that can feel very isolating because Pisces energy is very isolating. And you could have this wound around feeling very alone, feeling very lonely, whether you're in a relationship or not. It can make it to where you feel like you need to escape the pain because the pain's endless, because Pisces energy is like this endless well of like space or whatever. It's like the bottom of the ocean. And it's almost like, since it seems so boundless, since it seems so endless, it's almost like you could dwell in like the pain forever. So it's better to just run away from it, which is where the escapism comes from. Now, any of these things could be applying to you if you chose this. I'm not sure why you chose Pisces. Maybe you have Pisces placements and this is just, your life, or you're just drawn to wanting to pick Pisces, but this is kind of the energy here. And it's also this wound around needing to have compassion when other people haven't had compassion for you. And it's almost like, why would I even want to do that? And with this Aries energy, this is what I mean. Either are going to be some people that are too hurt by their wounds to see outside of themselves and be able to do things that are better for themselves and better for others around them. Some people are just going to be too hurt by that. Now, that could be the negative side that some of you could fall into with this energy. The other way this can go is you see where you needed help and you work through things, and then you see someone else that's going through a similar struggle, and you have the compassion to like reach out and give them either the tools or like something that you did that like, or even like some advice that helped you get better. It's like being able to like see outside of yourself. But this does not mean don't have boundaries, because that's also a thing with Pisces is codependency, like I talked about in the astrology. It could very well be the fact that instead of dealing with your problems and instead of having boundaries, you just give all of your energy to other people and you don't focus on yourself, because that's how you run away from your pain. And it makes it seem to everyone else that you're this wonderful person, but you're dying inside. And that isn't the way to live life. And that's like a very easy hole to fall down. And then you end up just resenting everyone around you when they love you and they don't understand why. And it's because people can't read your mind. And that's the thing to where like Pisces energy gets hurt, is like, I feel like I can read everyone's mind. Why can't anyone read my mind? Everyone's wired differently, wired really, really differently. And like the sooner you can realize how differently you're wired, but still like accept people where they are, that's where things actually start getting beautiful instead of always feeling like everyone's slighting you. So we have literally just talking. So we have justice being reversed and not. I'm saying that right. And not being reversed. I have read this out of the book. It's pretty interesting, but it's not like a usual part of tarot. We have the Tower. See, I feel like this group is like my Rude Awakening group, is what this is looking like right now. And then the Ace of Swords, that clarity. Okay. And then the Seven of Swords. Okay. Justice reversed. Why is this happening to me? But I'm saying like is literally the energy that I'm feeling from that. Like, why is this happening to me? And it's like that's the Aries Chiron energy, like, you know, the me thing. Like, why is it always me? Why does this always happen to me this way? Why? And it's like, if something's gonna go wrong, it goes wrong. You know, those kind of like, when you do things like that, that's what people mean when they're saying self-fulfilling prophecies, to where you're like constantly saying like, this is gonna go wrong, this is gonna go wrong, this is gonna go wrong, this is gonna go wrong. And so like, if you say everything's gonna go wrong, something is bound to go wrong. And then when you're like, oh, see, I was right, it's like there was no way you were gonna be wrong. But the reason people do that is because they have a fear of success. They have a fear of things working out, because if the thing works out, well, now there's something that worked out that can fail and that would hurt even worse. And that's why a lot of people set up these things to where they cut it off before they can be cut off. Now, with this justice thing, this is like this whole feeling of it's not fair. It's not fair. And why me? Why me? This is like this reverse thing. Like, it didn't work out in my favor. It didn't go the way I wanted. Like, this is that wound that I'm talking about, where you guys need to come out of yourselves. And it's like, that's what this Anant is saying, because this is like, I wish I had the book right beside me so I could read it to you guys, but it's like this. Let me see if I can. Ah, I'm dropping things. But I feel like you guys are getting some like severely tough love right now, is what I'm feeling. Let me see. Okay. Okay, so I see how this is trying to apply to you guys. So what this is supposed to represent is the space out of everything that's not like impermanent. And it's like basically it's referring to like the never ending, the eternal, all that stuff, and like this like being outside of it. And I feel like what this is trying to say to you guys is like, yes, this Pisces energy is like this endless, boundless energy, and it's like it goes on forever. But this being reversed is like, you guys aren't exempt. No amount of pain makes you exempt from having to do your own work. No one's going to come in and do the work for you. You can feel the pity party. Like I said, I feel like this is getting very harsh with you guys. And if you do have Pisces placements, you might be feeling very sensitive about this. But try to understand where this is coming from, because sometimes when we coddle ourselves and keep giving ourselves a bunch of flowery, nice, sweet language to deal with things, we run away from reality. And that's what happens with like Pisces energy, is like we escape from reality by putting like pretty filters on it. And what this reading is doing is saying, knock off the pretty filters. This isn't pretty. And eclipse energy isn't pretty. I mean, you might like go and look at it and it's like super cool and stuff, but it's scary. It's not pretty. Like there's stuff happening. And this right here is saying you are not exempt from the rest of the world in your lessons. You're not exempt from the rest of the world. And the only person that's ever suffered, you're not the only person that's ever gone through setbacks. It's trying to put you back in the state of realizing you are not the only one. And the thing is with realizing that, it's actually very freeing, and which I think is what this tower moment is for you, because this tower is represented by this guy. Instead of like an actual tower, it's a guy. And it's like he himself is like ripping and like tearing apart and like getting this whole new like outlook on life up here with this eye almost shape around his face. So it's like, this is you taking accountability and destroying these inner beliefs that you shouldn't have to do the things because you've been through so much. There are plenty of people. I could easily be a person, and this is from going to therapists, guys. I went to therapists, told them about my life, and they told me that they were surprised that I had no dissociative disorders, because anyone with half the things I've been through has some form of like multiple personality in order to deal with the trauma, or like have broken it apart in some way in order to deal with it. There aren't people that actively try to stay like staring down the barrel of what's happening to them and trying to understand it. And it like broke a lot of my therapist's minds, psychiatrists too. I'm just wired weird, and it's different. Not everyone's wired to like look at their shit and try to fix it as it's happening to them. It's weird. But the thing is, being the victim is part of like the Pisces energy though. Hello. Because the thing is, when you're wallowing in something that's so deep, it's very easy for you to feel like there's no way out, and then it's like you just sit in the suffering, and then you're upset for like ever, and like just feel like there's no way out and you're just drowning. But the thing is, that's not the truth. And that's what this Ace of Swords is. It's literally saying like, this is the clarity, this is the truth here. And it's like you have this wound around what the actual truth is, because it's painful. That's what this tower is. It's very painful to shed and break through a mindset that you've protected yourself with, which is your ego, by the way. It's like it protects you. When you break through this, it's very scary, because you realize that you've based your identity around these things that don't serve you. And it's like, well, who am I then? And then it's like, it almost feels like it'd be easier to go back to how you were, because it's like, I don't want to be someone who doesn't know who I am. Use this to explore yourself. It's a new opportunity. That's what the Ace of Swords is saying here. It's scary, but it's your wound. And what you're doing is you're holding your wound to you And instead of making change, you're like creating all this resistance, which is like this seven of swords right here. It's like you're getting all this resistance, and it's almost like you're betraying yourself, because the only person that's been in this reading has been you guys. It's been very you centered. So this thing right here, where it's not other people betraying you guys, you might have been betrayed in your past, but this mindset, especially with swords is mindset, our communication, especially to ourselves and other people. This is like you realizing that you've been the one betraying yourself and you've been blaming other people, and that's hard. Like, it's hard to come around to the place where you're like, damn, I've been really lying to myself about this. And sometimes that's harder than admitting you're lying to somebody else, because it's like you build all this up and you base all of this on something you feel is like such a deep truth, and then you're like, yeah, I was lying to myself, and it feels like everything breaks apart. And that's what the Tower feels like. But you get new truth. Ace of Swords, it's there, it's waiting for you. It just wants you to break out of this. And if you don't break out of this on your own, which like it's showing you this, what's going to happen is you're going to be given a moment where you're forced to with the Tower, and that's going to be your eclipse. So if you want to deal with something harsh for like 6 months, then like don't take it upon yourself to do this, and then it'll just be handed to you, and then you'll be forced into doing it. So this is my Pisces pile. You guys definitely whew. And if you want a reading, I don't know if the pin thing's still up there or not, but I do have these for live readings. And then also right now I'm currently doing like a group pick a card for everybody. So I'm doing my last group right now. And if you don't want like a live reading, there's also private readings on there too. So you can have like private one-on-one with me, or like live readings while I'm streaming. So my last group, my Sagittarius. Still think it's interesting how only zodiac signs came out of that astrology deck when there's literally everything in there. But this group, we have the words optimism, exploration, and freedom. Now, what this is leading me to believe, since this is like looking at the wounds we have here, this could be my negative Nancy group. Since optimism seems to be a wound here, it could either be where you just have a hard time seeing the good in situations, and it's, you know, life knocks you down so much that it's really hard for you to keep picking up the optimism and having it. It could be this sense of like not having freedom, not having the ability to do the things you want to do in life, and feeling like you're stifled in a lot of ways. Sagittarius is also with like deals with the ninth house. And in dealing with the ninth house, this deals with like long distance travel. This deals with like religion, spirituality, gurus, things like that. So there could be wounds when it comes to religion, how you've gone through like learning, it's been taught to you, and like all this stuff, like the ideologies you have around religion. It could also be like different cultures, and just not being able to come to an understanding around other cultures and things like that, and just having this wound of like, why is like the world like this, and like having like this like big picture wound of like, why is everything falling apart, and like the reason I can't do the things I want to do is because everything around, oops, sorry, I think I bumped my mic, but it's because everything around me is just going to shit. So it's like, instead of having that optimism, it's almost like you have the doomsday kind of approach to life. Now, the thing with this is, it's what I talked about earlier in the astrology, where there could be people that are like gung-ho and really trying to like stand up for what they believe in and do stuff, and then there's going to be people that feel like they can't and feel very lost. And I feel like you guys are more of the lost group, where it's like if you're not able, like your wound sits in the fact that you're trying to find your optimism, you're trying to find the reason why you want to get through each day, you're trying to find the reason, like what's the joys in your life, like what makes you happy, and like all these things. And it's like this struggle and this wound around that. And it's almost like one of those things that I said in the astrology where it might trigger you to see other people experiencing happy emotions, and that's where this wound is like trying to tell you, like, you need to look at that. You need to realize that other people's happiness doesn't affect your happiness. Other people's good mood doesn't affect you having a good or bad mood. It's like that's a choice you're making. And if you have this like envy and jealousy over certain things, like once again, like really look at yourselves. Like, I don't want you to feel like no one else got a harsh talk in this reading, because last group got a harsh talk too. Now, because Chiron wounding is harsh, it's going to feel like a personal attack when it's being spoken to you, because that's what Chiron does. It just hurts. It freaking hurts. And we're all having this personal wound right now we're dealing with. Now, let's see what the tarot says. Oh, your card's running away. So you had the Ace of Swords, but it's reversed. Yeah, it's always good to know. So you guys have the Ace of Swords reversed. Now, one thing I do want to say with this, since it's Sagittarius energy you guys picked, Ace of Swords is clarity, it's the truth. When it's reversed, it can almost be like the truth is obscured, or it can be like the clarity you're getting is not quite the full thing. It's not quite, you might think it is, but it's like something's been omitted. Or it could just be something's blocking you from getting the information you want. Like there's just something there where you're not getting the full truth, you're not getting full clarity or any at all. So this point of view and this mindset you have is not coming from a place of truth, even if you feel it is, because that's something with Sagittarius energy, is this deep need for like understanding your truth. And this right here is saying, like, if you're really hanging on to something because you feel like to your core it's your truth, but it's like it's keeping you in this very miserly energy, it's time to kind of reassess, like, why is that your truth? Yeah, for oops, sorry. My phone is dying, so my camera is dying. But yeah, I did 3 cards. Like I just kind of shuffled and pulled out 3 cards for the group so they could pick from groups, and the last group was a Sagittarius group. So let's see. Then we have 3 of Pentacles. Now this, okay, 3 of Pentacles is like your ability to be a team player. It's your ability to like go in and be excited to work with other people. It's also like finding a group of people that you like enjoy working with, things like that. So this, since we're talking about wounds here, this could like quite literally mean you just you work with people you feel you don't get along with, and it's causing you a lot of like freaking anguish to deal with these people. But it could also be since this is a wound and you needing to be honest with yourself, you being honest with the fact, like, do I need to be spending as much time with them as I am? Like, am I doing everything I can to make the situation to where it's more bearable? But also this could be like a thing with money exchange when it comes to other people, because it's like instead of just working together, it could be like dealing in finances with people and like feeling like it's almost like the money is sticky a lot, like it's not like just yours, and it's like creating this sense of like not really knowing your place and your value in a group setting. And then we have King of Swords. Now, King of Swords, especially with this Ace of Swords reversed, like King of Swords can be very cold and can be someone that's like straight facts. I don't want the emotional stuff, which none of this is seeming very emotional. It's seeming very heady. Like, yeah, we have pentacles here, but it's more like how you work with people. So this is like a very like in the head energy, a very mental energy. And it can make it seem like, you know, maybe the reason a lot of your stuff is hard when you're working with people is literally because like you have this cold demeanor and you don't even realize it. Or you just feel like other people are cold and you can't communicate your needs and wants. Now, one thing you guys really need to keep in mind here is that Sagittarius is a very visionary sign like Aquarius. And when you're visionary, same with Pisces energy and Neptune, because they're both ruled by Jupiter. When you're very visionary, what can happen is your visions can run off with themselves. And a lot of times, the visions themselves might not have a lot of truth to them, or if they do have truth, it's very little truth and it's very like conflated in either pain or hurt or like an emotion or being misunderstood or something like that. So it's very easy to be like, these are the facts when you feel like it's your truth, but you're not necessarily being objective. And that's what it's trying to tell you here. The King of Swords knows how to be objective. They don't second guess if they're being objective. So it's almost like to help yourself with this wound, you need to allow yourself to be objective instead of feeling like you need to be right. And those are two different things. You can be objective and be wrong and realize where you were wrong and like, you know, own up to it. And that's like a big thing here. I feel like there might be like a wound around that kind of thing too here. And then we have yeah, you guys definitely have issues with like groups. There's just something where like your and Four of Swords. It's almost like this need to say what you have to say and let people know that it's your truth, to the extent where it's like maybe your working relationships can deal with it, but these either romantic or the ones where there's like love in between them, where there's emotions in the relationships, it's not faring too well. And on top of that, Three of Cups reversed is like gossip and things like being nasty and things like that. So it's almost like either you're surrounding yourself with people that just really aren't good for you. Their money sucks, their emotion sucks. It might seem like you're having a good time with them. It might seem like they have a good reputation when it comes to money. But it's like the truth of the matter is you, when you're honest, get talked about. And it's almost like this thing where Four Swords is putting something to rest. It's allowing yourself to rest. I feel like this group, their wound is a lot around the mental, the mental like mind games you guys play with yourselves about the fact that you're fine with how you're treated because you feel like you're living your truth. But the reason it hurts you so bad when you're thinking that way is you're probably honestly not living your truth. And that's why you can't reconcile the fact that you're being treated bad, and it's like you're being treated bad for something that something at your core doesn't believe in. And that's like I said, these are deep wounds. It's Chiron, guys. It's not going to be some surface level, oh, I don't like my friends. It's going to be something deep down where you're realizing like you're like telling this lie to yourself, and telling that lie to yourself, you're telling yourself, I'm okay with these people. I'm fine hanging out with these people. They have a good reputation. Yeah, they treat me horrible. Yeah, they're nasty. Yeah, they say bad things about me. But the fact of the matter is they help me get ahead in situations. There's going to be people out there that help you get ahead in situations that don't treat you like this. And the fact of the matter is you're the truth, you know, this thing that's reversed over here that you're like lying to yourself about. The truth is once you dump these people, and once you dump this mindset that it's fine to be treated bad, because the thing is, you could get rid of these people, right? You could put boundaries up, get rid of these people, whatever it is. But if you don't change the mindset that you have around the fact that it's fine to be treated this way as long as I look good or as long as I'm being respected in public or like whatever it is, it's like, it's almost like you're choosing what you're putting to rest here. Either you're putting to rest the lie and you're starting to live a more free life, that freedom you want. You're starting to live a more free life. You're starting to look at things as the glass half full instead of half empty, because people aren't treating you horrible anymore because you've like, you realize that I deserve better. And that's what this core belief is you feel you don't deserve better when you do. You're settling, and that's the truth, and that's why it's harsh. So this Four of Swords is like, what are you putting to rest? Are you putting to rest your fulfillment and keeping the lie, or are you going to put the lie to rest and start seeking fulfillment? And that's what this wound is pushing you towards. And if you don't make a step, just make steps in doing these things. There's definitely going to be situations thrown around, because we're coming up to that eclipse next week, where not like this coming week, but the following week, like I said, we're coming up to that eclipse. Things are building. You're going to be feeling tensions this week building within these groups. And I did talk about this in the astrology, where there are going to be groups that are like, hey, you need to put your money here. And it's like, well, I only have finite resources. And then you're being treated bad, but you're saying it's okay. This is going to be that group that's affected by that I talked about in the astrology. So I can't remember exactly what part of the astrology where I talked about that, but I did go into detail about that somewhere. But that's what this group is really dealing with, like the rest and self-care that comes from dropping the lie or putting to rest the fulfillment that your life will have by carrying on the lie. So it's what you guys are fighting with right now. But yeah, that is going to be what I have for my Sagittarius group. And Chiron readings are never nice, because Chiron in our astrology chart is our pain. It's our very deep personal pain that we have. And right now we're all being forced to feel that personal pain and deal with it head on, or it's going to be thrown in our faces. So, but that's what I have for everyone. And I think I'm going to end for now, since my phone is getting close to passing away over here. And my charger thing is not in here. I thought I had it in here, but what I have in here is a dead one. So I'm going to go ahead and end this before my camera dies and I just freeze on the screen. But I will talk to all of you next week on Saturday. I'm going to be editing everything and cutting this up and putting it into different shorter videos on YouTube. So if you just want to watch the tarot, or if you want to watch different days of the astrology and see what's going on different days of the week, you'll have that. And plus the full live will be uploaded over there too. So, and if you want personal readings, you can get those from me during the week on my Ko-Fi. And then next week when I go live on Saturday, if you get readings during the stream, I'll do those live too. But yes, I'm going to go ahead and head out now. You all, please take care. We're heading into a very doozy of a time. We're heading into where we have to take a lot of accountability or get our asses handed to us. So please take care. I love you all. Bye-bye.